Candace Owens is a modern merchant of myth, a personality cloaked in righteousness who turns suspicion into certainty, fabricated narratives into profit, and audience loyalty into something resembling discipleship. Today, my Factivists, we are asking the question, did the Bible warn us about Candace Owens?
You are watching Facts Me TV. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content.
Like, hype, subscribe.
Welcome back to Facts Me TV, my friends, my Factivists, where we educate, not fabricate. I am Stephen Lancaster, and today we are doing something different. Yes, we are talking about God. Yes, we are talking about the Bible. But we are talking about this stuff in relation to Candace Owens. You know, we hear all the time her being compared to evil, her being evil, her possibly being the Antichrist. Let me tell everybody something. She would never be tasked with being the Antichrist. She's too stupid. She's too self-involved. She is a very powerless individual without using somebody else's money. Guys, you know the drill. Every job she's ever been handed, she's been fired. So why would one of the biggest responsibilities in the world, such as being the Antichrist, be handed to Candace Owens just to screw it up? Even the devil would fire her. But today I have discovered some things, and this started last night. You know, I pray every day, multiple times a day, read from the Bible, and it hit me. It hit me because I started reading things that related to what we're experiencing today with Candace Owens. So I'm going to ask a provocative question, and I'm going to back this up with stuff that hopefully today leaves you still thinking about it, still talking about it. But did the Bible predict Candace Owens? Now, guys, this came to me last night, so I started taking notes, started going through my Bible, taking more notes today, and I have all that in front of me, so you're going to see me kind of looking back and forth. Now, this is just a theory. It's a comparison between Candace Owens' public behavior and several patterns of deception and destructive influence that the Bible warned Christians to recognize. You know, people ask us all the time, why are we going against Candace Owens? You know, you're not acting very Christian. You know, blah, blah, blah. We're attacking Candace Owens. Christians wouldn't do that. You know, that kind of thing. And we're going to touch base on some of that because the prophecy is not the person, my Factivist. The prophecy is the pattern. And that is what we're going to point out here today. And I promise you, I promise you, the material I am going to drop, you're going to scratch your head. And it's really, I'm hoping by the end of this episode, many of you are grabbing your Bible just to see how uncanny this all is. And once you examine this pattern, the similarities become difficult to ignore. Guys, for years, Candace Owens has built an enormous audience by presenting herself as someone willing to expose the truth that everyone else is supposedly too frightened, too corrupt, or too controlled to reveal. Over time, however, her content appears to have changed. I think we can all agree. Questions became insinuations or outright accusations. Insinuations became questions and then outright accusations. Accusations became elaborate conspiracies. And when one theory failed to produce evidence, which when it comes to Candace, all of her theories fail to produce evidence, it's rarely corrected or withdrawn. It was simply replaced by something bigger, darker, or even more sensational. Candace also publicly presents herself as a Christian. She converted to Catholicism, regularly declares that Christ is king, which now she's just doing as more of a troll move than anything, and sells merchandise carrying that message. You know, as our good pal Artie Trolls pointed out with her Matka, you know, where she's hiding this merchandise saying, "Make America Christian again," but in the description, "Make America Candace again." That's iconoclast, guys. That is iconoclast. This makes this comparison fair. Stick with me, guys. I'm telling you, if the chat could show dropped jaws, the chat would be full of dropped jaws today, okay? If you publicly invoke Christ as the moral authority behind your platform, then your public conduct can be measured against the standards Christ taught. Okay? And I'm not seeing very many people go from this angle. If you publicly invoke Christ as the moral authority behind your platform, then your public conduct can be measured against the standards Christ taught. You cannot use Christianity as your shield and then complain when someone opens the Bible. And today, my friends, that is exactly what we are doing. 2 Corinthians chapter 11 warns that deception does not always arrive looking evil. Scripture says that Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light, and that deceitful workers can masquerade as servants of righteousness. As I alluded to earlier when I said Candace could never be the Antichrist because she doesn't have what it takes, so she falls in line as a worker bee for Satan, a deceitful worker. And think about what that means. Biblical evil does not always introduce itself with horns and fire and some kind of horrific soundtrack, right? Deceit is the exact opposite. You know, like the succubus and the incubus. You know, we get these beautiful, desirable, you just irresistible women to make you sin, right? Why would the devil use like a fat purple-haired leftist to try to get you to sin? That's going to scare you straight, right? So they go with beauty, class, right? Sometimes it arrives well-dressed, or if anything, in $1,000 clothes that look like grandma's tablecloth. Sometimes it is articulate. Sometimes it carries a Bible, has the crosses in the background, has the Bible in the background. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Candace. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Baron Coleman. Sometimes it tells you that everyone else is lying and that it alone possesses the hidden truth. Guys, I'm telling you, I am building up to a massive drop here. The Bible warns Christians not to judge something as righteous merely because it uses religious language. Saying Christ is king is easy. It's become a motto now. Living as though Christ is king requires humility, honesty, mercy, accountability, and restraint. I am going to say that again. Living as though Christ is king requires humility, honesty, mercy, accountability, and restraint. And every one of those things I just named is not Candace Owens. It's not any of the grifters. A Christian slogan can be printed on a shirt. Christian character cannot. And this is the business of fabricated stories, my factivists. 2 Peter chapter 2, okay, contains one of the most remarkable warnings for the modern media age. It warns that people will exploit others through fabricated stories. It literally warns us of this, that people will exploit others through fabricated stories. Fabricated stories. And the interesting thing is this was written nearly 2,000 years ago, before podcasts, monetized live streams, paid memberships, and algorithms that financially reward outrage and hide people like us. That does not mean every question Candace asks is fabricated. Asking questions, it's legitimate, right? Investigating powerful institutions is necessary. And Candace Owens is a powerful institution. Just the irony behind that. But asking questions is not the same as manufacturing suspicion. And that is what people like Candace and Baron Coleman and Stu Peters and a whole onslaught of others do. A question becomes manipulation when evidence is ignored. Innocent explanations are dismissed. Speculation is presented as discovery, and every denial is treated as additional proof of guilt. That is not investigation. That is an accusation wearing a question mark. And it creates an incredibly profitable cycle. First, identify a villain. Then promise information nobody else possesses. Turn ordinary details into sinister clues. Tell the audience that the media cannot be trusted. When fact checkers respond, accuse them of participating in the cover-up. When evidence contradicts the theory, expand the conspiracy until it includes the evidence. Then announce that another explosive revelation is coming tomorrow. Every episode creates the demand for the next episode. That is the formula. Fear becomes content, suspicion becomes a product, and followers become paying customers. And I call that the itching ears. 2 Timothy warns that people will gather teachers who tell them what their itching ears want to hear. It says they will turn away from truth and wander into myth. That passage does not only warn us about deceptive leaders, it warns us about willing audiences. A cult-like personality does not necessarily invent every fear inside the audience. The personality discovers those fears, validates them, and gives followers someone to blame. The message, it's intoxicating, guys. You are not confused. You are awake. You are not being manipulated. Everyone else is. You possess special knowledge. The experts are frightened of you. The evidence is hidden because you are getting too close to the truth. That makes followers feel chosen, intelligent, and morally superior. Eventually, evidence becomes less important than belonging. And that is exactly what we're seeing with the candy cultists. The central question is no longer, is this claim true? It becomes, are you with Candace or against Candace? Am I wrong? At that point, Candace is no longer simply a commentator. She becomes the authority through which reality is interpreted by millions of people. Acts chapter 20 warns us that people will arise, distort the truth, and draw disciples after themselves. Not disciples of truth, disciples of themselves. And that is exactly what she's done. We can see hints of that transformation on Candace's own forum. One follower wrote that Candace was saving my life and probably my soul. Another expressed faith that Candace would discover the supposed truth that Erika Kirk's involvement in Charlie Kirk's death. Those individual comments do not represent every Candace Owens follower, but they reveal something deeply concerning. Political trust is beginning to resemble spiritual dependence. And then we have the widow test, which I have seen thrown around a lot biblically. Okay, that angle. We arrive at what probably is the most powerful biblical connection of all when it comes to Candace Owens. James chapter 1 gives us two tests of genuine religion in two consecutive verses. Verse 26 warns that people who consider themselves religious but cannot control their tongues deceive themselves. The very next verse says that pure religion includes caring for widows in their distress. Control your tongue, care for widows. It's that simple. The Bible places those commandments side by side, and that brings me to Erika Kirk. Let me establish an important distinction here, Factivists. Being a widow does not make someone immune from legitimate questions or criticism. Erika is also a public figure and the leader of a major political organization. Her decisions can and will be examined, but legitimate scrutiny requires evidence. It does not justify implying without substantiated proof that a grieving woman participated in trafficking or conspired with foreign governments or helped cover up her own husband's murder. It does not justify transforming her grief, her facial expressions, her clothing, her travel, what music she's listening to, or her public demeanor into supposed evidence of guilt. If your investigation requires treating everything a person does as incriminating, you are not investigating them. You are not investigating at all. You have already convicted them. And again, that is what we have seen with Candace Owens. Candace has complained that Erika responds as a grieving widow instead of responding as a corporate executive. But according to the Bible, Erika's status as a widow is not irrelevant. God specifically commands believers to consider it. James does not say to protect widows only when you like them. It does not say to care for widows unless their organization has money. It does not say to show compassion unless suspicion generates better engagement. It says that caring for widows in their distress is one of the defining characteristics of authentic religion. So if James gives Christians two immediate tests, control your tongue and care for widows, how does Candace Owens perform on either one? I can't answer that question for you guys, but I can show you the evidence and allow you to answer it for yourself. You judge the fruit, right? Jesus provided the ultimate test in Matthew chapter 7. By their fruit, you will recognize them, not by their slogans, not by their confidence, not by their number of followers, not by how dramatic they tell a story, by their fruit. What fruit has this campaign produced? Has it produced truth, humility, justice, and compassion? Or has it produced hatred, paranoia, harassment, and threats against a widow and a mother of 2 fatherless children? In July 2026, my pals, the Network Contagion Research Institute, released a report examining Candace's campaign against Candace Owens. I covered that, and NCRI even commended FaxMe. And yes, I'm going to continue to say that. The NCRI analyzed 1,034 explicit threats directed at Erika. Its statistical analysis found that Candace's post targeted Erika predicted increases in threats approximately 2 days later. So Candace would make a post targeting Erika, and within 2 days of making that post, there were increases in threats against Erika. The report describes Candace as a dominant narrative authority with an ecosystem. Now, because this is FaxMe, we need to include the necessary qualification. That statistical relationship does not prove Candace personally ordered a threat. It does not establish in a courtroom that every person making threats are acting out because of her. Candace is responsible for her own speech, and the people making threats are responsible for theirs. But the report provides measurable evidence of a relationship between the stories being promoted and the behavior that followed. Candace may respond, "I never told anyone to threaten Erika." That's fine. But the biblical fruit test is not limited to whether somebody explicitly ordered the final action. It asks what their influence repeatedly produced. When you portray someone as a murderer, trafficker, traitor, or participant in an international assassination plot, you are not merely asking harmless questions. You are assigning that person a monstrous moral identity before an audience of millions. And when followers begin treating that accusation as permission to hate or threaten the target, you cannot pretend the resulting fruit grew on an entirely different tree, because it didn't. And then we have the self-protecting conspiracy. This is where the system begins to resemble a cult of personality. If evidence supports Candace, she is correct. If evidence contradicts Candace, the evidence was planted. If a source agrees with Candace, the source is courageous. If a source disagrees, the source is compromised. If authorities confirm her suspicions, she was right. If authorities reject them, the cover-up goes even deeper. If critics remain silent, their silence is suspicious. If critics respond, their response is suspicious. There is no possible outcome that proves the theory wrong. That is not skepticism, that is faith. And political commentators should never be granted the kind of unquestioning faith that belongs to God. I'm going to say that again. Political commentators should never be granted the kind of unquestioning faith that belongs to God. So here's the theory, guys, that I've been building up for 20 minutes. Guys, and I'm telling you, it's uncanny. Did the Bible predict Candace Owens? Of course, not by name, right? Not exactly by name, but it predicted a recurring kind of influence, a figure who presents as righteous, a figure who profits from sensational and potentially fabricated stories, a figure who gathers people eager to hear emotionally satisfying myths, a figure who draws followers toward personal loyalty, a figure whose speech spreads like fire, a figure whose accusations sow division, and a figure who must ultimately be evaluated by the fruit produced. Candace Owens may insist that she is exposing evil, but constantly projecting evil onto everyone around you does not prove that you are righteous. Sometimes it merely reveals what your platform requires in order to survive. Let's say that again. It merely reveals what your platform requires in order to survive. There must always be another villain, another betrayal, another hidden symbol, another secret operation, another person who deserves the wrath of the audience. Because without a villain, there is no outrage. Without a villain, there is no Candace Owens. Without outrage, there is no engagement. Without outrage, there is no Candace Owens. And without engagement, the machine stops producing money and influence. I do not know Candace Owens' heart. I do not know the condition of her soul. And unlike Candace, I will not pretend that speculation is evidence. I can only examine her public words, compare those words with the available facts, and measure the fruit they produce. Christianity also teaches redemption. And this is the angle, the cherry picking, that the candy cultists want to use. If Candace corrects false claims, apologizes to people she has harmed, and changes the methods of her platform, that should be welcomed. And it absolutely would be. But repentance begins with truth. Repentance begins with truth. It cannot begin while every correction is dismissed as persecution and every disproven conspiracy and accusation is replaced by a longer and larger conspiracy and accusation. A slogan can be Christian. A podcast it can quote scripture. I do it all the time. A personality can say Christ is king 1,000 times, but Christ instructed us to examine the fruit. If a voice repeatedly makes people hate more, fear more, accuse faster, and demand less evidence, perhaps the Bible did not predict that person's name, but it certainly warned us about the method. It certainly warned us about the method. My friends, I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, I am going to drop some math on you that is so godly, it is going to blow your mind. Stick around, my friends.
Pictures of mountaintops with him on
You are watching Facts Me TV. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content.
Every week they lie, twist facts, and dodge the truth. We call it out. Educate, don't fabricate. Subscribe to Facts Me for weekly fact checks.
Welcome back, my friends. We are about to be talking Pythagorean. God bless you, right? Pythagorean numerology is best understood as spiritual divine practice. Okay? Pythagorean. Spiritual divine practice. It's numerology. Practitioners believe numbers derived from a person's name and birth, their birth date can reveal their personality and temperament, their strengths and weaknesses, spiritual purpose, relationships and compatibility, favorable dates and or life periods, supposed future opportunities and challenges. Again, Pythagorean numerology is what leads us from Candace to the Bible. This is going to just blow your mind. It cycles letters through number 1 through 9, essentially. So when you take Candace's name, you come to 22. And coincidentally, her last name, Owens, also comes to 22, which is very, very rare to have a first name and a second name both come to the same number. So her name together, Candace Owens, equals 44. And you're probably like, what is he getting at with this Pythagorean numerology? Again, it's spiritual divine practice to help understand people better. And from what I've messed with it, and it's uncanny, okay? But using this numerology, we know that letters are viewed as 1 through 9. Candace equals 22, Owens equals 22, so the name together equals 44. So that produces an interesting 22, 22, 44 pattern. Candace's full name equals 44. In numerology, 44 reduces to 8. Some of you probably are fully aware of what I'm talking about. That produces John 8:44. One of the Bible's strongest passages about deception. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies. John 8:44. So I'm going to start this again, my friends, so we're following along. Pythagorean numerology is understood as spiritual divine practice. It is believed that these numbers reveal from a person's name or their birth date everything about them. Their personalities, their temperaments, their strengths, their weaknesses, their spiritual purpose. Right? So, through that formula, we came to Candace 22, Owens 22, Candace Owens 44. And then you drop that through numerology to 8. Sounds crazy, and a lot of people say, oh, that's a stretch, but it's not. It's math. It's math. It's not a stretch. Okay, so what we're doing is we're taking these numbers that lead us to the Bible, that lead us to Candace Owens. So again, I said that produced John 8:44. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Isaiah 44 is about idols and deception. Isaiah chapter 44 condemns people who manufacture idols and then become blind to the truth about what they created. Isaiah chapter 44 condemns people who manufacture idols and then become blind to the truth about what they created. Isaiah 44:20 describes someone whose deluded heart misleads them until they cannot recognize the lie they are holding. Isaiah 44:20. Followers collectively elevate a commentator into an unquestionable authority. They construct the idol themselves and eventually become incapable of admitting that that authority that they created could be misleading them. Factivus, is that not what we see with the candy cultists. Followers collectively elevate a commentator into an unquestionable authority. They construct the idol themselves and eventually become incapable of admitting that the authority they created could be misleading them. And you know, the most effective line just might be Isaiah 44 describes people creating an idol with their own hands and then becoming too deluded to whether the thing they are holding is a lie. Today, we don't always carve our idols figuratively, literally, whatever, from wood. Sometimes we construct them with clicks and subscriptions and AI and unquestioning loyalty. Candace equals 22. Owens equals 22. Together they equal 44. 44 in numerology reduces to 8. You put those numbers together and you arrive at John 8:44, where Jesus speaks about lies. Then turn to Isaiah 44, and scripture describes people creating an idol before becoming too deluded to recognize the lie that they are holding. A numerical coincidence attached to a woman whose career has repeatedly been challenged over misinformation, conspiracy theories, and unsupported accusations is undeniably eerie, my friends. Undeniably eerie. Those who consider themselves religious and yet do not keep a tight rein on their tongues deceive themselves, and their religion is worthless. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. Protect the people that are being targeted. That is what we do as Christians. So that is your line back to these candy cultists. Oh, your profile says you're Christian, but you're attacking Candace Owens, or you're racist for attacking Candace Owens. You're not Christian, or you wouldn't be acting like that. The same thing that they accuse us of, they don't turn on her when she's more worthy of that. Okay? We protect the people being targeted. We correct demonstrably false accusations. We support victims and report credible threats. James places control of the tongue and care for widows next to each other. James 1:26 through 27. James places control of the tongue and care for widows next to each other. So my friends, my factivists, again, I ask, did the Bible predict Candace Owens? And it's not by name, but you cannot deny the connections. Candace Owens is all about connecting this person to this person, whether it's 7, 12, 15, 30 people down the line, you're connected to them, and that makes you whatever, right? That's Candace's whole thing. So using her logic, using actual science, math, and religion all together to make this cake, we have literally been able to completely connect Candace Owens' existence to what the Bible has warned us about. So when people ask, what do we do against Candace Owens? We do what Jesus tells us to do. Read the Bible. It's all right there, my friends. It is all right there. And what this tells me is she's toast. She's toast legally, and she's toast biblically. Okay, there is no heaven in her future. Okay, there is no riches and fame, at least the good fame, in her future. All that is in the path of Candace Owens is fire. That's it. That's it. And the Bible has told us. So as a Christian, as a man of faith, I am here to tell you, I'm not concerned. I'm not worried whether or not the right thing is going to happen with Candace Owens. The Bible has told us it's going to. God is going to make his move when the time is right, and we will all know it, and we will all see it. And I feel it. I feel it coming. There is something last night when I was sitting there thinking about Jesus and reading from the Bible and putting all this together in my head. I knew I had to do this episode. I had to do this episode to show these comparisons. You know, a lot of podcasters don't go this route. You guys can see it, even some of our friends, even some of our favorite people, they just go by what they know is going to get clicks, and that's okay. That is okay. As long as you're telling the truth, it's okay. You know, it's a business. It's a business. You know, I can't speak for all of them, but like I've said, I would love to do Facts Me full time. So there's a business side of it where I have to compensate what I'm making sitting at my job, you know, with Facts Me so I can deliver Facts Me more. You know, it's no big secret, and there's nothing wrong with somebody wanting to be successful. We should be happy with people's successes. It's just, how do you do it and how do you get there? You know, when you have people like Candace Owens, who has done nothing but use rich white men her entire life to find a platform. And then when she uses that platform, her ego takes over. She gets too big for her britches and she burns that bridge, moves on to the next rich white man. Rinse and repeat, ladies and gentlemen, over and over and over again. But now there's nowhere else for her to go. We are looking at the Candace Owens final season. That's what we're looking at. It's going to have ups and downs. It's going to be full of twists and turns. There's going to be episodes where we think she's won and there's no chance there's going to be justice, but then there's going to be episodes that's the other, right? We just got to be patient, factivists, and we have to keep doing what we're doing now. Keeping the truth out there and protecting the innocent, protecting the people who are being wronged by the evil of Candace Owens and her cult. And I'm here to give this message to the candy cultists. I don't hate you. I don't hate anybody. I pray for you guys. I pray for Candace. I pray for my factivists, the followers here, the subscribers here. I pray for family members I don't even speak with anymore because I don't want to associate with them. I pray for other people I don't want to associate with. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Just be cool. Keep it clean. We're a family here. Nobody is going to judge you or chastise you for making the right decision to turn off Candace Owens. Remember, ultimately, candy cultists, I'm talking to you. Ultimately, you are only responsible for yourself. And I'm telling you, hanging on to Candace Owens is not going to end well for you. And I'm not saying that as a threat at all for me or Fax Me or anybody here. Nobody is threatening you. We're saying you're welcome. You are welcome to come here. You don't even have to say nothing. You don't even have to say, guys, you know, this isn't an AA meeting, right? You don't have to roll into a Fax Me TV episode and say, hey, guys, I'm a candaholic, right? No, you don't. You don't have to tell us any of that. You don't have to roll in and say, I've listened to Candace for years. She's duped me. She's taken money from me. She's lied to me. You don't have to say any of that. You've got a clean slate here at Fax Me TV. If you watch Candace Owens, and if any of my videos have changed your mind, or if any of our colleagues' videos have changed your mind, whoever that may be, Jay Witt, LLC, RD Trolls, whoever, that's fine. You don't even have to say nothing. You don't have to tell us. Just show up as a new member, new subscriber, whatever, and just join the family. Nobody even needs to know that you were a candy cultist. We're not here to belittle you for that. We've all been duped in our life. We've all been taken advantage by somebody. But we don't allow those mistakes to define us. You don't have to allow Candace Owens to define you. So with that being said, I'm not going to preach, but I'm just saying, last night I was sitting there and all this hit me and it all just connects. We need to strengthen our faith, ladies and gentlemen. We need to, yes, it's great to be debunking all of her lies, proving all of her lies wrong. You know, this is good. This is part of that fight. But we don't need to lose sight of why we are doing it. We are doing it because what she is doing is wrong. She is hurting a family. She is hurting all of the employees, all the people that work at Turning Point USA and their families. There is so much hurt that just spreads out because of her. In the candy cultist eyes, they just wear those blinders and it's Erika. They're not seeing that, oh, Erika's children, Erika's family, TPUSA, all their families. They're all affected by this. They're all affected by this. And you guys are just as guilty. And that's horrible. That's horrible. You know? I think some of you willingly like it and love it, and you're just truly evil people. I don't think anything's ever going to change that. Even though I pray for you, I don't think it's ever going to change that. But at the same time, there are some of you that I think are just innocent and ignorant, and you were taken advantage of. Walk on in here, guys. Nobody is going to judge you. The only time you will ever get flack from this family in that chat is if you come in here guns a-blazing being a butthead. That's pretty much it. That's like our only rule, right? If you're going to talk crap, back it up. If you're going to call somebody a liar, back it up with facts. If you're going to attack people in my chat, they're going to block you or at least put you in a timeout. You know, I saw it yesterday during the, which by the way, thank you guys for hanging out. Big hand to Jim yesterday. It was like a 5-6 hour Faxby marathon and my man was here. He packed a lunch, let me tell you. And a lot of you kept showing up in and out. It was great. It's good to see you guys. It was good to have that just laid back replay of stuff. Remy screwed with the show a couple times. He kept hitting the keyboard and the mouse, and I had to start over. But it was a lot of fun. But, you know, our favorite little contrarian came into the chat yesterday and instantly attacked. Right? And Jim put her in a timeout. These people, man. These people. This is their life, you know. But, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. It was a talky talk episode. But I didn't even argue with myself. I knew this morning this is what I wanted to cover today. Did the Bible warn us about Candace Owens? And I'm saying yes, it did. Ladies and gentlemen, put your thoughts in the comments in the chat. Put them in the comments when this show becomes an archive. And please share. If you think some good points were made here today, please share this video. Let people know that this is bigger than Candace Owens. This is bigger than Erika Kirk. This is bigger than Charlie Kirk. This is bigger than any of us. Because there is nothing bigger than God. The Bible is our navigating through life guide. If people used it more, you would have less stress, less hate in your life. You would smile more. Good things would happen to you. Life's not going to be perfect. It never is. But I'm telling you, if you use the Bible as a guide for your life, you'll never get suckered into people like Candace Owens ever again. And that's where I'm going to end this episode. So ladies and gentlemen, please keep that truth on your tongue and God in your heart. I love you all. Thank you so much to the mods for hanging out today, keeping things cool. And I'm going to rock on. We've got another week ahead. Tomorrow and Wednesday, I will be filming in my studio, going live from my studio at home. Be a little more laid back. We'll get some Q&A going during the shows. We'll have a lot of fun. Maybe even go over an hour. Who knows? We're just gonna ride the Facts Me train. But you guys have a great night. You guys will see me in and out of social media the remainder of the day, and I will see you tomorrow live from the Facts Me studio at 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. Take care, my friends.
Sad suffering from bliss can make my escape from this. Chain the bottle to my brain, a maze of haze, amaze my taste. Hey, do you feel the same way? Hey, do you steal the shame? Hey, do you breathe like I do? Hey, do you scream like I do? Drink away and fade away. My blessing and my curse come first. Mad whispering from everyone. Can't take my fate from what's done. Crave the bottle and welcome rage. God save me from this glass cage. Hey, do you feel the same way? Hey, do you steal the shame? Hey, do you breathe like I do? Hey, do you scream like I do? Drink away and fade away. My blessing and my curse come first. The sound of pain, dropping from my veins. Hey, do you feel the same way? Hey, do you steal the shame?